Hi guys, and welcome to a new Bo Reads World video. In about every video I've made for the past 3 months, I've been promising you at the end of each video that I'll be doing a book haul the next time, which I haven't, but this time I'm doing a book haul, so be prepared for a book haul of, well, far too many books, so let's get on with it. So I'm going to start with the books that you've already seen in one of my wrap-ups in January or February, so I can link them down below for more explanation or what they're about or my thoughts on it. So the books that I read in January, which you can find in my wrap-up, are Butterflies in November by Audur Ava Ólafsdóttir. Then we have Swing Time by Zadie Smith, which I read for the Diversiton in January. Then we have The Plot Against America, which I also read in January and was part of my book, real life book club. Then there's also My Name is Leon by Kit de Wall, which I also read at the beginning of January. Then we have Cove by Sinan Jones, who is a Welsh author, and which I also read in January and which has been my favorite book to date of this year. Then we have a very weird book, and that is Sudden Death by Alvaro Enrique, which I also really enjoyed, but was also weird, like I said. And then two books that I read in February, which you can also find in the link that I'll put down below. And that is a book by Mary McFarlane, and I always forget the English title, which is Here's Looking at You, which was very corny, very sweet, so, you know. And then the final book that I talked about in my February wrap-up was History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera, which I also really enjoyed, but like I said, you can find all my thoughts on them in the wrap-up videos that I'll link down below. Then also two books that I talked about in my mod box unboxing were Sufficient Grace by Amy Espeseth and The Handsworth Times by Sharon Duggal. I'll also link that video down below if you want to hear my thoughts on it. Now on to the books that I haven't featured yet in any of my wrap-ups or other videos, and the first one is There Is No One Here Except All of Us, but in the Dutch version, by Ramona Ossabel. This is about a remote Jewish village in Romania at the eve of the Second World War, and it's about a community and how they are threatened by this World War and how to escape like they've done so many times. And what I've heard and read about it, this is part fable, based on the stories that Ramona has heard from her grandmother. So I think this will be a very fascinating read and something quite unique, something different to what I'm usually reading. So yeah, very looking forward to reading this one. Then another book that I have heard quite a lot about and is considered a bit of a modern classic, I think, and that is The Lowlands by Jhumpa Lahiri. This is about two brothers in the suburbs of Calcutta, I think, in India. And the younger brother looks up to his older brother, but when they grow older, his older brother gets involved in some nefarious, dark rebellion movement, I think, and it's about how their lives are totally changing because of that, and a case of identity and how the decisions that you made can influence the relationships between family members and friends. So yeah, like I said, a bit of a modern classic, so looking forward to setting my teeth into this. Then a book that I saw in a supermarket one day, and that was The Colorless Tsuru Sasiki and His Pilgrim Years by Haruki Murakami, who is a Japanese author. I read one of his other novels, and that was Norwegian Wood, and I heard from several people that it was a bit of an outcast in his oeuvre, that it isn't in the line of his other novels, so I decided to pick this one up just to see what his normal writing style and stories are like. But you know, Norwegian Wood was a bit weird, so I'm expecting no less from this book. Up next is another book which I've seen a lot on the British side of BookTube, and that is The Wolf Border by Sarah Hall. This is about Rachel, who works with wolves in Idaho, but returns to Scotland one day, where her estranged family lives, to work for an earl who wants to rewild his estate with wolves. And it's about how her work gets some serious consequences on a higher level, because it's against the backdrop of Scottish independence and power struggles, and it's how her work with wolves plays a part in that. But also it's about her reconnecting with her estranged family. And after reading the Outrun last month, I'm looking forward to reading a bit more about books set in the wilderness, about how nature plays such a great part in some people's lives. So yeah, definitely one that I also want to read in the near future, like all of them, of course. Then I have one which I have heard nothing about, and I just picked up on a whim because of the blurb and some of the pages that I read in it, and that is The Tooth Fairy by Clifford Chase. And on the cover it says Parents, Lovers and Other Wayward Deities, a memoir. And yeah, from what I read, it sounded very funny, and I guess once in a while you need something that is just very funny. And also, it has deckled edges. Ooh. Then one that I also picked up in that same supermarket, like the Haruki Murakami book, and that is Arthur and George by Julian Barnes. I have read The End of Time or something like that by Julian Barnes, which I really liked. And this is about Arthur Conan Doyle, and it's set in the late 19th century, and it's about a crime which he has to solve or something like that. So yeah, it piqued my interest, so I picked it up, and also it was just €5, so how could I not? Then another one which I saw a lot of mixed reviews about, and that was Gold Fame Citrus by Claire V. Watkins, and this is set in a post-apocalyptic, no, that's a difficult word, set in California. And it's about, the drought in California, and it's about a couple who suddenly discovers a baby and what they have to do with it. But like I said, a lot of mixed reviews, so maybe I'll put this one at the bottom of the pile for now. Then we have a book by a Nobel Prize winner, and that is The View from Castle Rock by Alice Munro. I have never read any Alice Munro, and I know when she won the Nobel Prize that every bookstore was flooded by her short stories. And yeah, I had no desire to pick her work up then, but now I saw one of her books for quite cheap in a bookstore, so I decided to pick this one up. And I'm quite excited to read some of her short stories, especially because I heard a podcast called A Good Read, which is by BBC Radio 4, in which they were talking about some of her short stories, another collection though, and they were so enthusiastic and so excited to be reading those short stories, so it became a bit infectious. So yeah, I bought one of her short stories. Then I have a Belgian author called Stefan Brijs, and his book Moon and Sun, and this is set in Curaçao in the 1960s, and this is about a young boy and an older priest, which is also always a dubious combination. And this is about the difference between generations, about growing up in poverty and what are the consequences from that. And yeah, I haven't read anything by him, but in Belgium he's quite famous, so I'm willing to give him a go. And also, again, it was quite cheap, so I really had to, yeah. Then I have a book which I have actually featured on a video which was in my The Versaton TBR, but I didn't get a chance to read it, and that is My Father's Wives by José Eduardo Agolasa, who is an Angolan writer. And in that video I said that I wanted to give my channel name a bit more credentials, because, you know, Bo reads well, but I'm also always reading from the same 5-6 countries, and he is an Angolan writer, so trying to broaden my horizons a bit with him. If for some his name sounds familiar, his most recent book, Man Tiger, was nominated for the International Booker Prize last year, so yeah, really expecting a lot of this. 3 more books to go, guys. The next one is Night Film by Marisha Pessel, which is very beautiful done, a lot of pictures and stuff like that, so yeah. And I have read one book of her which was called Studying Calamity Physics or something like that, which I didn't really love, but I enjoyed it for the most parts. A lot of cultural references in there, which I always appreciate. But this one is quite the thriller, if I have heard correctly. And I don't really read thrillers, but you know, I want to broaden my horizons in other nationalities, but also in genres, so this is a good start, I think. Then we have an author who is considered a stalwart in the LGBTQ fiction, and that is Edmund White, and this is his novel Jack Holmes and His Friend. And this is about unrequited love, I think, about how his friend is in love with Jack Holmes, but, you know, he is straight, so the greatest tragedy of all, isn't it? And then last, and even maybe least, because when you read the reviews, they're really not kind for this book, and that is City on Fire. This is a heavy book, guys. City on Fire by Gartrisk Hallberg, which was in the news 2 years ago because it got such a big advance, millions of it. And I also picked this up in that same supermarket. Really good supermarket, guys. I saw a review video of this by Didi over at Brown Girl Reading, and she quite enjoyed this book, but she warned everybody that if you haven't lived in New York in the 1970s or were aware of New York in the 1970s, that you won't really get this book. And seeing that I was born in the late 80s, I am not aware of New York in the 1970s, I'm quite scared to read this book because, you know, 1,000 and a bit pages, and when you read this and you come to the consultation, 500 pages in that you're not getting it, it's a bit of a waste of time, isn't it? But maybe I will give it a gander, seeing that I did buy it, so I'll keep you posted. But also, I think it's very beautiful done. So those were the 22 books that I wanted to show you, which I've bought over the past 2, 3, 4 months or so. If you have read any of those books, if you have any comments on those books, please leave them down below and we'll have a chat about it. If you aren't subscribed yet, please do, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you next time with, usually I'll say with a book haul, but I guess it'll be my March wrap-up video. Bye.